elected commissioners. So we are serving today in that capacity. Also, if you have a cell phone or a smartphone, could you please put it on silent or vibrate? We'd appreciate that courtesy. We always begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you please stand. And Mr. Kennedy, would you mind leading us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Sanada?
Here.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Here.
Commissioner Vogel?
Here. So we do have a quorum. I'm going to open this up in just a minute for public comment. We have two opportunities for public comment. One in just a moment or so, and then one prior to us adjourning the meeting. We ask that if you do have public comments, that they be related to election board matters. If it's something involving our role as county commissioners, we meet next Tuesday, and you're welcome to come to that meeting. We're here specifically today for election board matters. You are welcome to speak both times. You're welcome to speak one of the two times, or if you're just here to listen, that's equally fine. And then as a courtesy to everybody's schedule, if you could try to limit your comments to about 5 minutes or so, we would certainly appreciate that. So before I do public comment, I know it's not on the agenda, but let me see if my colleagues have any opening remarks. Commissioner Sanada, anything?
Just briefly, for the record, I had a chance to tour with Commissioner Kennedy this past week the whole process behind the election and how it's counted, how the mail-in ballots are done, how it's done on election night. We must have spent about 45 minutes with Tim Germain to see the security of the system. My observation was very positive. I think that the system in Lawrence County is run very well. And I have great confidence in this election season and what we're going to see. So I just want that for the record. We wanted to do that. We really didn't want to comment on it until we got the whole idea. And we have cameras. We have a drop box with a camera on it continuously. There's cameras on machines. There are cameras when it's going to be counted. So every precaution is being taken in Lawrence County. Mr. Germain, thank you for all your efforts. I know it's not an easy thing, and I know it can be a very contentious year. And we want to just make the people know that in Lawrence County, everything's proper. So I didn't want to make that clear.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kennedy, any opening comments?
I'll echo Chris there. We also, I'm looking forward to election day. It'll be first time I could spend all day in the courthouse here and see what goes on. So kind of excited to get there. We do have a great leader with Tim and his whole staff. They do a great job, even leading up. It's amazing what they have to do leading up to this whole process. It's a full-time, everyday job. He's something different, and this whole staff is. So, Tim, to you and your staff, we say thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Kennedy. I do appreciate that. I'll note that on election day, we have, as our role as members of this board, we also have the ability, if we so choose, we can visit polling places just to see how things are going. And that's certainly an option that any of us have to take into account. So thank you both, gentlemen. So one other final thing before I open it up for public comment. As you see on the agenda, the primary reason for today's meeting is to move 3 polling places. So we'll be getting into that very shortly. But I do want to open it up. And if you do have a comment, just raise your hand. We'll call on you if you could state your name for the record, and we're here to listen to you. Anybody with a comment at this time? Yes, ma'am.
Everyone, my name is Renee, and
your last name?
Slagle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Commissioner Sonato, you just said that there are cameras at the drop box. For the cameras, are they live only, or can they be reviewed at a later time if needed?
I believe that they will be reviewed. Everything's taped.
Okay, so the video
Yes, I
would be
think that
possible?
I think it's 90 days, Tim,
That's exactly what he said.
and I think they're gonna back that up as well.
Yeah, he said he'll back it up.
It has to be backed up, so there will be a record. So if anyone wanted to check the record,
That's right.
it's available to check.
Okay, within the 90 days?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then he said he'll back it up on the server as well. So
Okay,
Yes.
if needed to review, we could go back farther than that.
okay. All right, thank you.
And just to add to that too, the drop box that we're referencing is in the entranceway to this building. In other words, you come in the first door and the box is there. Now, it would only be accessible while the courthouse is open, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. And I will also note that during that time, immediately beyond the drop box, when you come through the second door, you do have the security folks and the sheriff's deputies there as well. So just wanted to enter that for the record. Anything else?
That's all right now, thank you.
Chairman Buck, I think your hand went up.
You answered my question, sir. I wanted to know where that drop box was, and both commissioners are right. They do an excellent job. The election director and his people. We are very secure here. I've watched this too. Last year I came through and watched how it's all done, but you answered my question, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Buck. Other comments at this time? Hearing none, no, once again, we'll open it up before we adjourn. If something else you'd like to bring up, we'll certainly welcome that. So thank you. In our packet here, gentlemen, and these minutes are available if anybody wishes to see them. We have the minutes of our last meeting of the election board, which was held on Wednesday, February 14 of 2024. I will give my colleagues whatever time they need to look these over. And if you're ready, gentlemen, I could entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Dan. Discussion about the minutes, gentlemen? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sanada?
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The minutes of the February 14 meeting are approved. We have next on the agenda the election director's report, and our director is Tim Germani. Mr. Germani, I'll turn it over to you for whatever updates you might have for us.
Pretty much went over all the stats the last couple of meetings. Nothing has changed, with voter registration or anything, how that's going. But one thing that I do want to talk about is, in the office, we are sending out, and we've done it in the past, these are verification notices. They're, the acronym is HVACOMB. Susie, do you know what that stands for? It's basically a verification notice. We're getting a number of calls because we're sending those out to people, and I'd like to explain what that is. The verification notice that's being sent out, it says there are 3 different areas why your mail-in application has not been verified. And most of them are, it's saying that your driver's license or your social security number is not matching up with HAVA in the state. I can't tell you why it doesn't match up when it does, but the most common problem is, for instance, if you go by H.D. Smith, and that is how you put the application in, it's not going to verify with the state because you have H.D. Smith, or your name would be Harry something Smith. And that's why it's not matching. Or if your name is Thomas Smith and you put Tommy and we put it in, it's not, we have to send those notices out. That is why the notices are coming out. Or maybe if you're an older person, you didn't have to put a social security and driver's license number on your application back in '63 when you registered to vote. So we don't have a social security number that you put down and it's not matching. Another instance is maybe you got married and you're using your married name and you didn't change it with us. That's going to kick out the app and say that it needs verified. It's a simple process. It doesn't mean your social security number got breached. Doesn't mean you're not going to get your social security check. These are concerns that I understand with a lot of people. All it is a verification notice. And if you could sign it to say, yes, all the information here is correct, and send it back to us, then we could verify your mail-in application. It's another fail-safe in vetting everybody's mail-in application.
Tim, is the rule governing this process a state rule?
Yes.
Okay, so other counties are going through this
Oh, yeah,
process as
absolutely.
we speak.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Before you go any further, I'll see if Commissioner Sanada has any questions. Commissioner Kennedy? Tim mentioned social security numbers. I always tell people, I'm so old, my social security number is 2. Go ahead, Tim. Thank you.
That's basically it. Don't be alarmed if you get the notice. It is just, like I said, another catch card into verifying you are a registered voter, everything's matching up, and then we put the application through once we get the verification status. And that's about all I have to say about those. If they have questions, of course, they can always call my office. We can go deeper.
You know, based on your telling us that, it probably then is prudent for the voter to turn their forms in sooner rather than later. Because if they get too close to the deadline, you and your staff might be scrambling a little bit. Is that true?
That's true, yes.
Okay, so I guess the friendly advice would be, as soon as you're able to send it in.
Right.
That
And
helps
And
you
without
folks.
being said, that's another thing. You know, we're setting out with the changing of the polling spots and everything like that. We're sending out the voter ID cards, and they, of course, will have their party on it. Well, midstream of that, as a matter of fact, and we get a call this morning, maybe even 2 calls. People have changed their party while we're sending out the new ID cards, and they're concerned that their party to get switched. But in our system, indeed, it's already switched, but when we put in the cards, you were still the other party. So with that being said, if anybody wants to make any changes with the name, address change, and party change, they should do it sooner than later. That way, I'm not sending you a Democratic ballot and then you decided you're a Republican and then you get your Democratic ballot in the mail. And then all of a sudden it's our fault, but you decided to change while we're sending out ballots. So we have to watch that. And that happens more times than not. So any changes, I would definitely do as soon as you can.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, ma'am. Could you identify yourself,
Yeah, my
please?
name is Robin Singer. I just had a question, Tim. So if I change my address, is there a way to do that online to notify you, or do I have to come here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.?
No, you can do it online, and the link to it is votes, VOTESPA.gov. Is it gov or com? Gov, G-O-V. So you can go there, you could do your application for the mail-in absentee ballot. You could do any changes that you need to make, and that comes to us, faster than you sending it through snail mail.
And then would that be the same verification? I would need my driver's license number and my social security number to put on there?
Yeah, either one or the other or both, but yes.
Okay, because if I have adult children that no longer live at my address, then they would need to change.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Any other matters you wish to bring before us?
Now, I just wanted everybody to know about those verification notices. I'm getting a lot of calls about them, and they're rightfully so. When you get something in the mail that says something's wrong with your social security number, in this day and age, you're gonna wonder what's going on. So, and of course, always call the office. We'll figure out why it didn't get, 9 times out of 10, I can figure out why it didn't get verified. And usually it's because of your name. I mean, if you're going by Connie and your real name on your social security card is Nctv, it's not gonna go through. So that's been the issue, is why we're sending these verification notices out.
Tim, what would be the best phone number here for people to call?
Well, they can call my direct line at 724-656-2177.
Yes, sir.
Raymond Wheel. Just a quick question on that. You mentioned about the matching. It should match, what's the most reliable match then? The driver's license, what their name is on their driver's license, or on their social security card?
I would go with what's on your social security.
Security.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the issue, but usually your name and on your driver's license and your social security card, they
typically do.
Yes, they typically do. So,
Right.
But I would go with social because that seems to be the most prominent problem of these verifications.
How they're verifying it. Okay.
Right. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report except those notices, so.
Thank you, Tim.
Yes.
Under new business, we've been in the process, we've already had 2 public meetings where we have had to move polling places, and today is no exception, as you can see on the agenda, which I hope everybody got a copy of. You're okay? Thank you. We are looking at changing or moving 3 polling places, and in this order. The first proposed resolution that we're considering today, and Chris, what number would that be?
It will be 07.
Proposed resolution 7, and this applies to the 7th ward of the city of Newcastle, which most of us commonly refer to as the Mahoning Town section of Newcastle. The resolution, and I'll enter it into the record, whereas in the city of Newcastle, Ward 7, the polling place was located at St. Lucy's Church, 1 Lucymont Drive, Newcastle, PA 16102. Whereas St. Lucy's Church will no longer be available to be a polling site due to its closure, and whereas the County Board of Elections has received permission to vote at St. Margaret's Hall, located at 27-29 North Liberty Street, Newcastle, PA. Debbie, I'll have all this for you, so you don't have to. Oh, okay, good. Newcastle, PA 16102. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Elections that the polling place for the 7th Ward of the City of Newcastle shall be moved from St. Lucy's Church to St. Margaret's Hall, located at 27-29 North Liberty Street, Newcastle, PA 16102. And also that notice of this change has been duly completed per Election Code Statute 25 PS 2726, which I assume includes the notification to each voter in the 7th Ward of the change. Okay, thank you. This is the proposed resolution. Before I'll take a motion, I'll see if, Dan, any questions that you have on this first resolution? No. Thank you. Chris, anything? Thank you, gentlemen. Do you have anything else to add? Did I miss anything?
No.
Thank you. Then may I have a motion, please, for proposed resolution 7?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Gentlemen, thank you both. Questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is proposed resolution 8. This involves specifically in the city of Newcastle in the 2nd Ward, the 4th district or 4th precinct, if you will. For a number of years, that polling place was located, and I'll read the resolution into the record. The polling place was located at St. John's Lutheran Church, 2601 Highland Avenue, Newcastle, PA 16105. And whereas St. John's Lutheran Church will no longer be available to be a polling site due to approval being denied from the church board, and then whereas the County Board of Elections has received permission to vote at Glenmore Presbyterian Church located at 220 East Glenmore Boulevard, Newcastle, PA 16105. Therefore, be it resolved by the County Board of Elections that the polling place for the 2nd Ward, 4th District or Precinct in the city of Newcastle shall be moved from St. John's Lutheran Church to, and let's say, we'll make a correction on this resolution, it shouldn't be Clenmore Church. We'll scratch the word Boulevard, if that's okay with both of you. Located at 220 East Clenmore Boulevard, Newcastle, PA 16105. There was a small typo in the resolution, and we're simply taking out the word boulevard and substituting the word church. And note, let me finish this and then I'll call on you. Thank you. Notice of this change has been duly completed per Election Code Statute 25 PS 2726. Yes, ma'am, Mrs. Ryan.
Okay, so I have a question because 2-4 and 2-5 both voted St. John's.
We had a meeting, was it a week or two ago, where the 2-5 folks will vote at the First Church of God on Euclid Avenue. That's been approved.
Okay.
And just I'm glad you asked the question because it helps us clarify. People might say, well, wait a minute, that First Church of God is in Neshannock Township, and it is. However, the election code, the state election code, allows polling places to be located in an area contiguous to another voting district. So those two border one another. So again, thank you for raising this, Lynn, because the two precincts, 2-5 will vote at the First Church of God. And assuming we approve this, 2-4 will vote at Clenmore Church. Now, along those lines, is it 2-3 that votes there right now at Clenmore?
Yes.
So the 2nd Ward, 3rd Precinct currently votes at Clenmore. So they will now host 2 polling places, and they will be in 2 different rooms or 2 different areas.
Yeah.
And that happens in some precincts. For example, Scott Township. You walk into the Scott Township Fire Hall, there's 2 precincts in Scott Township. When you walk in, if you live in the 1st precinct, you go to that side, and the same is true if you live in the 2nd precinct. So that'll be the case at Clenmore Church. We'll have two precincts, but in 2 different areas of the building. So again, I appreciate your asking the question. I've read the resolution. Let me see if my colleagues have any questions. Commissioner Sanada? Commissioner Kennedy? Okay, thank you. The resolution is up then for a motion if one of you is so willing.
I move we accept resolution 2.
Second.
Thank you both, gentlemen. If there are no other comments, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sanada?
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes?
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Chris. And then the final location change that we need to make today is in Pulaski Township. Let me read the proposed resolution and then we can have some conversation. This is proposed resolution 9, whereas in the township of Pulaski, 1st District or Precinct, the polling place was located at the Pulaski Volunteer Fire Hall, 1969 State Route 208, Pulaski, PA 16143. Whereas the Pulaski Fire Hall will no longer be available to be a polling site, the County Board of Elections has received permission to vote at the River Valley Community Center located at 320 Shenango Street, Pulaski, PA 16143. Let me stop right there for just a second. Some of you might recognize that as the old Pulaski Elementary School. It's now privately owned and it's known as the River Valley Community Center. But again, for us old timers, it's the former elementary school in the village of Pulaski. Now therefore be it resolved by the Lawrence County Board of Elections that the polling place for Pulaski Township, 1st District or Precinct shall be moved from the Pulaski Fire Hall to the River Valley Community Center located at 320 Shenango Street, Pulaski, PA, and notice of this change has been duly completed per Election Code Statute PS 2726. Let me then note one other thing. The Township of Pulaski has 3 separate precincts, 3 separate polling locations. The 1st precinct is essentially the eastern portion of the township. The 2nd precinct's over in the New Bedford area, so it's in the western portion.
Yes.
third precinct votes at the township building, which basically takes in the center portion of Pulaski Township. So this move only affects the first precinct, which is the eastern section of Pulaski Township. One other thing, correct me if I'm wrong, with all the polling locations, again, we've noted, you'll have to send out notification to all the voters in those respective precincts. Signage, are we obligated, we put a sign at the old location?
Old location, new location, and 3 other signs around the area. Different businesses, telephone poles, stuff like that. But yeah, I have to do 5 for every precinct, so.
And just off the top of my head, maybe in Pulaski, and I don't know if this is permissible or not, but in the village of Pulaski, you got the post office right there.
Yes.
Maybe they'd be willing to allow us to
Sure.
post a sign there, just a thought.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they would.
And again, just to reiterate, the rules governing this are not our rules, they are the state's rules. Just want to make that very clear. Commissioner Kennedy, any questions?
Just to say thank you for the people that let us use their places for years, and thank you for the people that are letting us use the new polling places.
Yes.
So, it's tough for you to find them anymore.
It is.
We appreciate when people step up and let us do this. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Sanada? Thank you very much. Tim, have we overlooked anything as it relates to this resolution? To your
No,
knowledge?
sir, all I can say is that the River Valley Community Center is gonna be much better than at the fire hall. There's gonna be more parking and more accessibility to get in and out, and I'm sure that the judges will be happy that they won't have to keep opening and closing the fire hall door to get in. So it's a very nice place, and I think it will work out much better.
The other thing, we noted it in a couple of our last meetings, but one of the other requirements when we locate a polling location is handicap accessibility. We've got to adhere to the federal ADA law and all the state regulations that apply to that. So in Tim's search for locations, that's a stipulation, that's a requirement you have to have, or that we are able to make the necessary accommodations to allow folks to.
That's the #1 priority, choosing a polling spot.
Yep.
I mean, you can always even overlook it being next to the precinct, but as long as it's, then I gotta answer to the Department of Justice.
Yep.
I don't wanna talk to them.
I'm gonna stay on their good side.
Yes, I do. So, yeah.
Gentlemen, unless either of you have any other concerns, I could take a motion for proposed resolution 9, please.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 9.
I'll second that motion. I thank you both. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sanada?
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Tim, before I open it up for public comment, is there anything else we've overlooked? To your knowledge?
No, only if you want me to go over some more dates real quick again.
Absolutely, please.
So we are at the mark that there was a ballot lottery drawn, that was the 21st, so that should be coming to me from the Department of State of what candidates in the ballot order.
Oh, may I stop you for
You
just a
may.
second?
Sure.
Thank you for that courtesy. We noted this previously, but I do want to remind everybody that during the nominating petition process, all of those petitions were filed in Harrisburg. None were filed with your office.
No.
Now, in off years, municipal elections, a lot of petitions get filed next door, but these state and federal races, they all get filed in Harrisburg. Most of you probably knew that, but I just wanted to make note of it. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Last date for withdrawal by candidates who filed the petitions is going to be on the 28th. So after February 28th, I should see more and more what's going on and who's going to be on the ballot. So I can't really even put any sample ballots or anything out just yet because I don't know what's going on. There are a few court cases pending that affect Lawrence County. Then the last day to register to vote will be April 8th, and the last day to apply for a mail-in and a absentee ballot will be April 16th. And of course, then we'll have the primary on April 23rd, which is coming up really quick.
2 months from today? No, 2 months from, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. So those are the most important dates that I got to report on, and that's it. That's all I have right now.
Thank you very much, Tim and Susan. Also, thank you to you. Let me see if anyone in the room has any questions or comments before we move towards adjournment. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Renee Slagle, and I have several questions, Tim, if I may.
Sure.
Okay, my first question is, what is the trigger that moves a registered voter from active to inactive?
There are a few. One of them is if you register to vote and I send you out a voter ID card and it comes back undeliverable, that will put you in an inactive status. Missing, let's say a few, 3, 4 elections will put you in an inactive status. And
Those have to be federal elections, I thought.
well, no, that'll put you into that 5-year notice category, but
Okay.
for you to be inactive,
Gotcha.
you just haven't voted in a few elections. Just because you are inactive literally means you're just inactive. It doesn't mean you cannot vote.
Okay.
And then, let's say you are in the inactive status and you go and cast a ballot or vote mail-in or at the polls, that when we record your ballot in, then that puts you into the active status again. So, once again, just because you're inactive doesn't mean you cannot vote.
Okay. And then my second question.
Yes.
What are the triggers that determine when an inactive voter is removed from the voter poll?
2 federal elections. But first, there's a few steps. First, I'll send you out a 5-year notice to say you haven't been active in 5 years. And then after that, you either respond or don't. And then after that, like I said, 2 federal elections, then you're automatically canceled. I won't send any notice to you about that. And last time I did that was 21 that we had to do it, I think.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it had to have been 21 because that was a federal.
So is it possible that'll happen in 25?
It's not even possible.
That's when it will happen, okay.
Yeah, it will happen. And the rough number of cancellations I had was over 2,000 voters that I got rid of. Yeah.
And then just one last question.
Yeah,
if I
sure.
could. Does the voter roll document which voters are added through the Department of Motor Vehicles or through any of the nonprofits that have access to the SURE system to add voters?
What nonprofit? I don't understand by the nonprofit organization.
Just like the nonprofits, like the NGOs, like anything, are they involved with that at all?
They won't put them in the SURE system. We're the only ones in the county that have control over that. I mean, they'll send us their registrations, and then we'll do it. And to answer your question about the what I call motor voters, there is a certain code on the application that comes to us electronically that tells us that they are, coming from the driver's license place. So yeah, we keep track of that. As far as running a report, I'd have to, to tell me how many people have done that. I'm sure there's a way. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I'm sure if I wanted to see how many people have registered that way, I could look at that. Does that answer the question?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
good. You're welcome.
Robin?
Yes, I just to follow up on the address change, say, I have adult children, I know a person, their adult children live out of the state.
Mhm.
So when they register to vote at their new polling place in their new state, do you get a notification at all that they?
Okay, so that's a gray line when it comes to other states. There's what we have, ERIC. It's another acronym. Don't ask me off the top of my head what it is, but we have what we send out ERIC notices out of county, in county, and other ERIC notices that there are certain states, and off the top of my head, one's Florida, Alabama, Alaska, Wyoming, and I think the Virginia's, West Virginia and Virginia, where if you register to vote in that state, they'll send something to the Department of State. Their Department of State will send something to ours, and then they send it to me, a list of people that they said they have registered. Indeed, there's the proof they registered. Please cancel them here. So, yeah, that doesn't happen with all states, but whoever cooperates with Eric will get the notices.
And then, and just another, so within the state of Pennsylvania, I do know this one family has a member that moved to actually Nevada, and one that just changed to Cranberry, and they're registered there. So Cranberry Township, PA.
Mm-hmm.
So would you get notification within the state?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we do that continually. That people move in and out all the time. So yes, as long as they're registering over whatever area Cranberry's in, then we get notice that they've registered, and then we cancel them, send that data back to them. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, within our state, yeah, that's that goes back and forth. That's a staple in what we do at voter registration throughout the state. But we are in constant communication with that. Out of state, we don't have control over that. Does that answer your
Yes.
question? Okay.
Yes.
And if, say you do move out of state, the best thing for anybody to do is to just write a small letter to us that says, I've moved and I'm no longer a resident of Pennsylvania. Please cancel my registration, with a signature and a date. That way I have verification that it was you, and that you are no longer a resident in the area. Okay, that's the best way to do it. There, you can do it online at that website that I told you guys, at votespa.gov. There's a section there that says cancel my Pennsylvania registration. You can do it like that as well. Okay.
Thank you, Robin. Other comments? Mr. Buck?
Yes, Tim, when they change their driver's license, does that trigger off too, correct? You're changing your driver's license from state to state.
No, it does not. I do not get any notification like that. I believe, I know people that have driver's license in 2 different states, so I don't have any verification with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Buck. Other comments or concerns that anybody would like to bring up?
I have a question.
Yes, Debbie.
Regarding the, every 4 years, that like every New Year's get canceled.
Yeah.
So once you get canceled, how do people get back on if they want to vote again? They just
Very easy.
re-register?
Just re-register, yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie. Anyone else have a comment they wish to make? Robin?
Just the voter rolls in general. So the state will send you a report of updated new registrations that maybe they went through the website, that website you're telling us.
So votes PA?
Yeah, that's all through the Department of State of
That's correct,
Pennsylvania.
yes.
So then that would trigger a notification to our county if the person is in our county. Or do you get that whole thing, like the whole state?
I don't understand the question. Say it
Like
again.
you're registering to vote, you live in Lawrence County, but
Yes.
you're doing it through the website, which is state
Yes.
of Pennsylvania,
Uh-huh.
not our county. So then you would get, just for Lawrence County, the state would send you new registrations, those notifications, or do you get like a whole bunch of?
Oh, no. They all come here. I mean, they have what we call batches. We get a batch of, if it's new voters, new registrations, it only comes to our county.
You don't get Mercer County.
No, right.
Or Butler County.
No,
You just
no.
get people that register in
Yeah.
Lawrence.
Right. However, the state disperses it. I couldn't tell you. That's a little beyond my scope, but we only get Lawrence County registrations. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
And then if you just move from Lawrence County to Mercer, we we get contact of that, either through driver's license, or you changing your address or whatever, that we'll contact Mercer or Mercer contacts us. We continually do that all the time.
Other comments that anybody might have? Tim mentioned that, feel free at any time. The office is open, 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. If you have questions, either give him a call or stop in. He can show you things, show you how it's done. It's a public process, and you have every right to see how it works. So we'll certainly share that with you. Any other comments? Closing comments from my fellow board members. Mr. Kennedy, anything? Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Sanada? No. Okay, thank you. Susan or Tim, anything that you'd like to finish up?
I have
Please.
one more thing.
Of course.
I have a tentative date of putting ballots out to mail, and I'm looking at around the 11th of March. Given that there's no court cases holding anything up and anything else that might come out of the blue, we're proofing ballots now, and we're getting ready to mail out by then. I'm also still waiting from the state for envelopes, the new envelopes, in order to get these ballots out. So with those factors in, that's my goal, to get ballots out by the 11th of March. Give or take a day.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's all I have for that.
Thanks, Tim, very much. We appreciate your all being here. Obviously, when this board needs to reconvene, and it comes from Mr. Germani, if an issue comes up and says, hey, we've got to have a public meeting of this board, keep in mind, by law, we're required to put a legal ad in the paper making notice of the upcoming meeting. And we generally also announce those meetings at our commissioner meetings as well. So best thing to do is keep an eye on the legal ads in the Newcastle News. As a courtesy, we have been contacting the chairs of the respective parties in the county. Mrs. Ryan and Mr. Buck, we've been phoning them in advance, simply saying there's an upcoming meeting of the Board of Elections. I don't think we're obligated, but I think as a courtesy, we think that.
Thank you, it's appreciated.
You're very welcome, of course. There being no other business, gentlemen, nothing else?
We adjourn.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's right. See you in, up north. Okay. You been up to your office?
Yes.
Okay.